So I got this workout outfit, and it was supposed to like wick quickly, so like when you sweat it evaporates,
Unlike my shirt.
Unlike your shirt, because you were running to get
and
it.
not like Mary Wick, the iconic character actress.
No, not like Mary Wick. But it was like, I just liked how the suit looked, whatever. I wasn't like, oh, I want the sweat to wick. What I just liked how it looked. And now when I sweat in the suit, it just holds the sweat there.
Oh.
I like can't wear it to the gym. I was like, I don't know how to walk out of here.
Do you get like awkward sweat, like crack sweat?
Yeah, you have no idea. Wait, I'm trying to show you.
Why am I picturing now like your pants just sort of holding water like a bucket, just like and it's like sloshing.
Imagine
like you walk
the
down
worst.
the street and it's like.
Truly, imagine the most embarrassing way it could look possible.
I do want to know how
Get
did
it
you
in your
discover
head.
this? Was it in the mirror? Oh. Oh my.
Like I was like, how do I walk
Nope.
out of here?
It for the record, friends, it's Chelsea wearing these really cute blue pants, looking like she just peed herself 6 times. This is Whyte Noise.
Oh yeah.
Where we talk about
Oh, hey.
damn crotches.
Hey, you there?
I was so absorbed with
Hi,
how it
friends. Uh,
looked like I peed myself.
We just launched into this story about Chelsea's.
Absorbed, pun intended.
But we did it. I'm Michael Judson Berry,
I'm Chelsea Jacobson.
Yeah, Ryan Wilder.
and we're gonna chat about shrubberies, each of us for 10
Shrubbery.
minutes, and Chelsea shall choose a winner for those potentially just joining for the first time.
Yeah.
Who got past the crotch dog?
Got past the crotch. Yeah. Sorry in advance.
No, that was great. That was your story, and you just won the episode.
Yeah, it's not, wow, that was over.
Yeah,
Quickly,
but that was a good
very
episode.
quickly.
Thank you for
Wow,
being
that
here,
was fun.
friends.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, it's Whyte Noise because it's 3 white people talking about nothing.
It's
This
background
is
noise.
Background
Put us
noise.
on while you're making coffee.
Yeah, if that. If that. You know, when you're like just waking up and you're like, I just need something, and I'm not even
I listened to us at
Retaining.
the gym.
really.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I did in
Okay.
the pool last week.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I floated.
Oh,
Very nice.
Just sat there and I
lovely.
was like, how do we sound? And I decided, great.
Great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Me too.
Okay. Wait, who's starting?
Oh,
I went first last time. It's up to you, but I'll go again.
I can go first.
It's
if
up to you.
want. You won last time, so it's dealer's choice.
Ah, you go.
Okay.
Yay. Okay, Michael. 10
Great.
minutes starts.
So I was so excited that you picked Shrubbery because I am a huge Monty Python fan.
Ooh.
For those of you who don't know Monty Python, they were a British comedy troupe formed in 1969, consisting of, this is going to Wikipedia, I did Wikipedia this, because you know when you're like, I love them so much, and then I was like, I can talk about them with no facts, and I was like, wait, who's in the original group?
Wait a second.
Yeah.
What?
John Cleese, right?
John Cleese,
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't name a
Eric
single
Idle.
person.
Eric Idle. Okay.
Michael Palin, Terry Jones, Graham Chapman, and Terry Gilliam. They are on par with like the Beatles as far as like their influence from like British
I don't know.
1960s. No, for comedy, yeah. Within the
Maybe.
world of like comedy and writing, it says they've been compared
Yeah.
to the Beatles' influence on music.
Okay.
It might
Basically,
be. It might be a little generational.
it is. Well,
I
they
don't know.
sort
Did
of
they
like
have to stop performing because they were so popular? Like the Beatles?
No, but like they, as far as their influence on the world of comedy, so they
Okay.
like changed the way people did comedy. Like they started in the UK and they blew up because they did sort of insane stream of consciousness comedy.
Okay.
So they started with a show called Monty Python's Flying Circus, which aired on BBC from 1969 to 1974. And their show, if you watch it, it's just so strange. And a lot of it would
Yeah.
be like Eric Idle, who's another one. You would recognize Eric Idle and John Cleese are sort of the 2 most famous ones, I guess you could say, and probably Michael Palin a little bit. But it would be one of them sitting like a news reporter, and he's like, and now for something completely different. And they would go to a sketch, and it would be like one of their famous ones is like the dead parrot sketch, where it's like a guy comes into a pet shop and he's like, I want to return this parrot. And he's like, what's wrong with it? And he's like, it's dead. And he's like, no, it's not. It's just sleeping. And it's a whole sketch of this guy trying to convince this other guy that this parrot is in fact dead. And it is dead. And he's like, the only reason it was on its perch is it was nailed there. And he's like, well, because he gets these bursts of energy, it would have flown away otherwise. And
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
weird. He's like, this parrot is deceased. Down to like the Ministry of Silly Walks, where they're like, and now for something else. And it's just John
Thank
Cleese
you very
walking.
much. This is the one that was on. I was like, there's a ministry of something, and I cannot.
Ministry of
and
Silly
it's
Walks.
hilarious.
And it's just John Cleese being like, he's a parliament member for the Ministry of Silly Walks. And it's just a whole series of him walking in a silly manner down the street.
Well, weren't they debating what was most appropriate? Like, no, not like that. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody who was going to get, and maybe it was a bridge of another one where somebody was going to be hired into the ministry of silly walks, and he's like, let me see your silly walk, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So they changed it because there was no one else like them at the time. It was just bizarre, and that's what made it funny. And honestly, I think it was brilliant. So Shrubbery, where this comes back to Shrubbery, is most people know them from their first film, which was Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yep.
That was really the first one.
That was the first one they did.
Wow, that's amazing.
They had never made a movie. They shot it on a nothing budget.
That I knew.
The two Terrys directed it. They had never directed a movie before. There's a really funny YouTube video that's like a reporter behind the scenes interviewing them in the style of them while they're making the movie. And like one of them, he goes up to him, he's like, so could you sum up this film could you try and sum it up? And he's like, no, I couldn't possibly. It's too complicated. It's too difficult. I couldn't sum it up. He's like, well, in like 30 minutes, could you try? And he's like, in 30 minutes, impossible. He's like, well, try 30 seconds. And he's like, all right. So it's King Arthur looking for the Holy Grail, which is sort of a beaked dodo-like bird. And they have to find it. So basically, it's a takeoff of the King Arthur thing. And they talk about they had never directed a movie. They didn't know what they were doing. It was a mess, but it somehow came together as this truly brilliant
It's the best
movie.
Yeah. It's so fun.
And there are all these fun little gems. Like they thought, how funny would it be if he's searching for the Grail and King Arthur just never gets it?
Yeah.
And like, spoiler, he doesn't get it. It's the most anticlimactic movie. He just gets arrested.
Yeah.
So there's a part where they're going through the woods and they meet the dreaded knights who say "knee."
Knee.
And again, it's funny because it's so bizarre and random. Like, what? These knights? And they're afraid of them because they go, knee. And apparently when they say knee, it causes you pain.
Yeah.
And so to get through, they're like, oh, knights, how can we get past you? If you haven't seen the film, and they're like, we command you to search the forest to bring us a shrubbery.
Shrubbery.
And that's the task King Arthur has to do, is get a shrubbery for the knights who say knee. And eventually they do get a shrubbery, and it's very specific, the shrubbery that they want. Not too high.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect little shrubbery. And then later when they do succeed in getting the shrubbery, he's like, now you must cut down the mightiest tree in the forest with a herring. And then that's when they realize the Knights of Knee are not afraid, and they just like leave.
Yeah.
But whenever I see Shrubbery, that's why I just think of him being like, a shrubbery. And it makes me happy. And one of my connections, like I think the most fun thing, so I'm an actor, and the most fun thing I ever did was the national tour of Spamalot, which is the musical version of the movie.
Yeah.
They 30 years later did a Broadway musical based on Monty Python and the Holy Grail with bits and songs from all of their movies. And a fun thing about the movie is they ran out of money for horses. So they thought, how funny if instead of actual horses, the knights just sort of skip around with their pages behind them carrying everything, holding two coconuts, doing a horse sound as they all just skip. So, and apparently that went back to like old like vaudeville style theater and like radio films and stuff. When they did horses, they would use coconut shells. And I guess the Monty Python guys were like, it worked for those, it'll work for us. And it's a whole story about how they got the coconuts to England. It's like, was it carried by a sparrow? Like, it's a hilarious bit. So when I did the music, I did the national tour of the Broadway show. And I played King Arthur's page, Patsy, who had to do the coconut sound.
The best.
And that was a very big thing because it has to be done a certain way. And I had to learn how to do trot.
I was about to say, you have a really, like,
I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, he did that extremely well.
And that's me with my hands. And I had to do like Galp, there's a whole bit where we did we did a whole sequence of different kinds of rides. And the director was like, you don't understand. Horse enthusiasts will see this show and they will know that you've done them incorrectly.
Wait, can you do the different types?
I can't remember which one. I know one was this. I think this was trot. And then there was the regular one.
Is that a canter?
That was canter. And then one was like a series of 3. I'm so out of practice. It's something like that. But the main one I could do is this, because that's the one I did for the most part through the whole show. And I had to get good at doing it with my hands because we used real coconut shells because they wanted it to be authentic. And they break really easily. So constantly in the show, I'd be like, da-da-da-da-da. And then I would have to just like throw them and just do it with my hands until I could get off stage. And then they had a barrel of coconut shells.
Like ready to go?
That I could grab and keep so I could finish the show.
That's awesome.
But it was just like the most fun show. And like, If you haven't seen like Spamalot, it's on YouTube too. You can watch it. It's absolutely hysterical. And I remember there was a bit. Sorry, this is turning into just like my personal Spamalot stories because
That's the point.
the best one was one of the highest points in my life was when we played Los Angeles and Eric Idle, one of the original Monty Python members, saw the show because he always goes to check on it. And he came and saw the show, and he's obviously been my hero since I was a little kid. And he came backstage after, and he came right up to me, and he was like, "You are very funny." And I was like, "I can die now."
That's
like,
amazing.
I was thrilled. We got a picture together. It was like the highest point of my like life. I was so excited because he's all the Monty Python guys, like John Cleese, all of them are known for being very, very critical.
Yeah.
And like perfectionists, which is why they were so funny. And he had seen the show the year before and apparently was not happy with that. So
That's
I
awesome.
was so excited.
Also.
So then I'll say a fun part. So part of the show too is there's an audience interaction moment where we find the Grail. In the musical, we actually find the Grail. And it's underneath a seat in the audience. It's hidden under someone's seat. And we're tracking down, we have all these clues. And at the very end, we're like, oh, it's in E404. And it was always like the fourth row on the aisle was supposed to be whatever that seat was. And then my character, because he's King Arthur's little page, runs out into the audience. And I had to get the peasant who was sitting in the seat and drag them up on stage. And then we did a whole bit with them. Well, my first night in the show, and the show had been running for 3 years, and I was like a replacement in the middle. So so I was new to an already running show. So I was, my first night I was a little nervous. I run out and I'm like, "Hello, peasant." I was like, "Oh, sir, we found the Grail," like under the seat. And I'm like, "Oh, we did it." And he's like, "Bring the peasant up," Patsy. And I was like, "Come on, sir." And he was like, "I can't." And I was like, we'll be all right. So you're like, "You can come up on stage. It'll be great. We'll take care of you." And he was like, "No, I can't come on stage." And I was like, "Oh, come on. It'll be fun." And then he points down. He had 2 prosthetic legs.
Oh.
And he had like kind of taken one off for the show. I think he was like, "I can't get on stage." And I was like, "Right, you!" And so like the woman next to him. And I was like, "You peasant!" And I was like, what are the chances my first night I managed to pick the one person with no legs?
Yeah.
Who like couldn't come up on
That's
stage.
insane.
He's like, "No, I can't."
Yeah, he's looking at me like
to.
daggers.
I
And he's like, "Sir,
cannot."
I cannot come up on the stage.
You're like, "No,
Because they were
it'll
like
be fun,
precarious
it'll be
little stairs
great."
to get up, and I'm just thinking, I was nervous. And I go off. The rest of the cast after the show's dying, and they were like, "Well, welcome to live theater, Michael." Like,
Oh my god.
and the peasant interactions was great. Like we had one where the guy.
Be
used the
fast. You have
moment-
5 seconds.
The one guy specifically sat in that seat because he was a big Monty Python fan.
Okay.
He pulled his wife up on stage with him and then proposed to her during the show.
Aww.
And thank God she said yes. But
That
it
would've
was
been
after
awkward.
Very
that,
cute.
it was always a scary moment. But that Shrubbery makes me think
Double
of so
checking.
many stories. such
That's
as
That is so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That horse gait that you can do with your hands is so
Thank you.
impressive.
It's very
It's my little
impressive.
party trick.
It's a great party trick.
It doesn't often come in handy.
It did today. It did
know,
today.
Yeah, when they're like, "How's the ziti?" You're like, "Well."
Would it be good for Olympic commentary? I did watch a little.
Yes. They should have sent you.
Oh, I should have been there with Martha and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
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 Next time.
Next time. Let them
Actually,
know.
guys, that's a canter. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Let me see. What is it? Is that a trot?
Yeah. When they go sideways, the horses.
Uh-huh.
So impressive. Okay, Ryan,
Are we ready?
are you ready?
I think so.
Your 10 minutes starts now.
Okay, lovely. So if you go and you get a definition of shrubbery, do you know what it is?
Well, oh, no. And I'm so excited.
A plant?
It's shrubs collectively.
Oh. Oh.
You just said that in the cheekiest way possible. You said that as if it was something naughty. Like it was
Shrubs
a little like
collectively.
ornithological.
Shrubs
Ornithological. No, but botanical orgy.
Yes,
Like-
but not ornithological.
There are no birds.
You
Sorry.
actually, you actually have to click through the shrub to get to the, to
Shrubbery, the modified shrubbery.
yes.
Wow.
Multiple shrubs.
Okay.
Collectively.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Which gave me, for whatever reason, a pretty good giggle.
A collective of shrubs.
Collectively. So actually, I have like kind of a personal story about it. And so I worked for this company that was way into ESG. So environment, social, and governance right now, which is kind of like a hot topic.
Okay.
And
What?
I'll get there.
Okay.
And
ASMR. Okay.
What are you talking about? Okay.
What are you doing? And part of the experience of doing this is you go and participate in environmental research to understand the impacts of climate change.
Okay.
So flew out to Arizona, Tucson, took a bus and spent a week out in, actually I wrote it down, in this place called Portal. So it's far eastern. And we were up in a cloud forest. And part of what you do while you're there, or what they're researching, were caterpillars.
Okay.
So we would run up to random shrubbery and trees with these giant things that look like, and I'm holding my hand out for those who are listening, that look like big umbrellas, like big upside down umbrellas
Okay.
of
Yeah,
canvas.
sure.
And then you have like a stick and you stand below it and you whip the crap out of the tree or the shrubbery with the intention of collecting the caterpillars,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
So the idea, so the caterpillar thing is a whole like ecosystem thing. So I'm gonna nerd for just a few minutes.
Please.
So caterpillars tend to be very well aligned with what they eat. So if what they eat disappears, the caterpillar tends to disappear. But there's a heavy linkage between the caterpillar and birds. So birds heavily rely on caterpillars to feed their young. And I actually have some other kind of statistics and metrics around this. So obviously, as things are heating up, these cloud forests are either moving higher up into the mountains,
What's a cloud forest?
or they're being completely eliminated. So a cloud forest is a weird band or a section of a mountain that has its own climate and essentially its own environment where very unique things
Cool.
can live. So there are caterpillars and trees and various things that only live in these very specific bands
Okay.
within the mountains. So these guys are out there researching the caterpillars to understand like what is the impact of climate change. And like my own little funny story with this, I'm like, I'm gonna find a unique caterpillar. I'm gonna find the caterpillar nobody else has found. Like, I'm like determined. I did it. I ended up finding this.
What?
I went into this like tree, and I'm like, this is the tree. It has the caterpillar that I need to find.
Oh.
Okay.
So I go up and I beat the shit out of it, and I look down and I find it's giant black caterpillar. And I was like, when you find a really good one, you'd be like, I found one.
I mean, a logical response.
And the
It's
older
like mining
scientists,
for gold. You're like, I found it.
Come look at my caterpillar. It doesn't play well in certain environments.
Yeah.
And
No.
like everyone comes scurrying over, and the guy's like, he's like, that's a good one. He goes, I don't think we've seen this one.
Ooh.
And I'm like, yeah.
Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm
You've
looking
never
at
seen it.
I'm looking at the other people I work with, and I'm like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I found the best
You
caterpillar.
lose. So I did this for like a full week, actually. And so you were talking about your pants, and so of course, like I knew I was going to be out in the woods, so I got myself like some like outdoor pants to wear and some boots and whatever else. And I ordered them kind of like last minute, and I got them on Amazon, and they were just a touch tight. So like I'm out in the middle of the forest, like looking for caterpillars, and like I see this tree that has the signs of being eaten by caterpillars. Actually, it was a shrub. And I run
Shrubbery
over.
or just a shrub?
Just a shrub.
Okay.
Shrub. It
Not
wasn't there.
collective.
It was not a collective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
It was a lone
It
shrub.
was on its own, lonely shrub, being eaten by caterpillars. And I run over and I go to grab the branch, and the whole crotch and rear of the
Get
pants.
out of
The whole no.
Yeah, and I think I had on like bright pink underwear.
Yeah.
On top of it all. So I'm literally in the middle of the forest. Now I'm just cackling at myself.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing. People are like, what's wrong? And I'm like, fortunately, I had like a jacket. So I put my jacket on.
Okay,
And, like,
good. Classic.
Yeah.
And like tied it off and whatever else. But so this whole thing and this whole experience like kind of taught me a lot about ecology and the importance of local ecology and the balance that comes from having native shrubbery and native plants in the environment that you live in. It doesn't have to be like 100%. But you guys will all know exactly what I'm talking about here in a second. Familiar with the Bradford pear?
The Bradford pear.
Bradford pear.
PEAR or PAIR?
Bradford pear. It is the tree that smells like cum.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The one that's all over South Boston.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it smells a lot like cum.
It
So-
does. We used to call them cum trees when I went to the U.
I
So
believe
much.
everyone does.
They would bloom. The whole city just smelled like
Cum.
semen.
So it's worth noting they're literally trash. Like they're one of the worst plants to put up in an environment because one, they're not native, so nothing eats them, and they're invasive. Nothing eats them.
Okay.
So they don't have caterpillars on them, so they don't attract birds, and they don't keep birds in your neighborhood. And they also crossbreed with other pears and other pear-related species, and apparently it ends up becoming a dominant trait.
Cool.
And it kind of consumes and it knocks out, or it starts to knock out native species.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
They also, I love this, they have weak crotches.
They have weak
What's
crotches?
the crotch of it? So much crotch talk.
So a weak crotch is where the tree V's, like
Oh,
branches
sure.
off.
Oh, yeah.
So in heavy wind, they have a very strong
Oh.
propensity to like fully, like you'll look at them in a heavy windstorm and they'll fully crack off, like a full side of them will just crack off
Wow,
and
so these
fall.
trees are awful.
Whoa,
They're
they
weak.
are.
They have no birds.
They're literally
But
shit.
yet they have really dominant
smell like cum.
genes. Like the one thing they're good at, they're very good at.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's the cum thing.
And they're not good at
Yeah,
anything
it's
else.
true.
They've really embraced their way.
They do.
No wonder they smell like cum, yeah.
But I
Oh.
was going to balance it out and say the best thing to plant in your yard is actually oak. Oh, how much time am I? Where am I?
2.5.
Oh,
You're good.
We have so much
Yeah.
time.
Oak?
Oaks are all around kind of the best tree for caterpillars.
Ah.
And I learned this at the thing that I went to that I was telling you about where we were in Arizona. Birds consume something to between 390 and 570 caterpillars a day
What?
Excuse
per,
me?
per chick.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Whoa.
But the thing is, a large oak tree can play host to multiple bird families for an entire season. So
Wow.
they can load up with caterpillars and keep the ecology
Yeah.
of your neighborhood going well. So I was going to say a good example of this. I was talking about how caterpillars are aligned to certain things. So oaks are pretty broad spectrum, keep caterpillars happy. But if you think about monarchs only eat milkweed. And that's why there's a push to get milkweed out in your,
Okay.
have people plant it because it's the only thing the monarch caterpillar will eat.
Okay.
And part of the problem is we've like gotten rid of it.
How long do they live? I'm just trying to understand how it's sustainable for a bird to eat 500 of those a day.
That's a lot of caterpillars.
That seems like so many caterpillars.
I mean, they're just little guys.
Yeah.
And some of them are really, really little guys.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so you don't even really see them.
Yeah, you don't even see them. It's
Oh.
I learned like if you look at an oak tree and you see like holes, walk over and flip the leaf the other side over,
Oh,
and you're
there'll be
apt to
little
find
guys.
you're apt to find the caterpillar that's there,
Cool.
like consuming them. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of I thought kind of cool.
That is.
Man,
And
you're
I think the
stupid.
other part is
do monarch butterfly they lay eggs? Where do caterpillars come from?
so the caterpillar. Yeah, actually. Yeah, I think the butterflies lay eggs. The eggs
Okay.
turn into caterpillars. The caterpillars turn into chrysalis.
Right.
Chrysalis.
Yes.
Chrysalis?
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Second
cocoons.
grade is coming flying back. At
And
me.
Yeah.
then
That's when we
they
had those.
pop out, and they're either butterflies or moths.
Okay.
And
I didn't
moths
know it
are-
could go either way.
Yeah, so moths are pretty big. Like a lot of caterpillars become moths.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Pretty big in the caterpillar community.
They're very popular.
Wow.
Little dominant, actually.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the cool kids become moths.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. And
So-
the fun, like the artsy nerds are the ones who become
Oh
the
shit!
butterflies.
You have 5 seconds. If there's
Wow,
anything
okay.
you really want to get
I feel
to.
like I kind of landed that one.
Yeah, you did really land that
Much
plane.
like a butterfly.
But yeah,
Much
what can I
like a
say?
butterfly.
Just popped right out of my chrysalis. Chrysalis.
Chrysalis?
Chrysalis. I'm gonna.
One day we'll figure out how to say that.
Ooh.
Or we won't.
Oh, we won't.
Chrysalis. Wow, that was so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Oh my
Plant
gosh.
native. Plant native.
Very hard to choose a
Yeah.
winner this time, you guys. Oh man. I learned so much about caterpillars,
You're welcome.
but that talent you have.
I was so into your story that I forgot that I even spoke.
I'm
In my
not-
head, I was like, don't I have to talk about
I
something
know, I was
now?
really infatuated.
I'm not gonna lie. The moment you did the thing, I was like, well, there's the win factor.
Like I lost.
Okay.
It's fair. It's,
Oh,
it's
so I
just a
win.
talent. Yeah, Michael wins.
Great,
Sorry, Ryan.
thank you.
understand. That was
High
pretty.
five. Yeah, I loved it.
I know, I don't know, it took a lot of practice.
It's
that-
very impressive.
Thank
How many?
you.
What I think is funny is how many people will listen to this and give it a try at home.
Oh, you should try it. Try
You
it if
actually
you're
did
listening.
really well,
You did pretty
Ryan.
good.
Oh, thank you.
Do that again.
Whoa.
Very good.
I'm a fast learner.
Wow.
See, that's not bad.
That's good too. See,
There we
it's
go.
really not that hard.
It's harder than do it at home if you're listening because Michael's very good. It's impressive.
Thank you.
It seems like one could just do the trots, but one can't.
Do the trots.
Do the trots.
I mean, anyone can get the trots, but like,
No, I don't want the trots
no
right
one
now.
wants them typically.
No one wants the trots.
Okay. Next week.
And next we have, which one did we want to do next? Do you guys have a preference?
AC unit.
Yeah, why not?
AC? Okay.
AC unit.
Okay.
By the way, like, where the hell did that come from?
AC unit?
Yeah. Were you just
'cause
like
I
staring
was
at your window
looking-
and you're like, damn, that thing's loud right now.
I'm so
I was
excited
in my
for
house and I was like, it's cold. Or it's hot, rather. I want it to be cold. I was like, yeah. These all came from staring out my window, honestly. My
Cool.
neighbor across the way has a shrubbery.
Cool.
And there are AC units on the line.
Were you
Or
high?
on the, you know.
Were you high?
No.
Because sounds like stuff I'd dwell in if I was high.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm looking at. No, I was not high.
No,
Just sober, looking out my window.
fine.
But yes. Next topic will be AC unit.
Great.
AC unit.
AC unit.
Okay.
Here we go.
Bye.